turning someone's trash into gorgeous treasure today. My name is Courtney. Let's get crafting. For this project, one thing that I love to always look for are some type of jewelry box, wooden box. They are just so versatile. You can use them for so many different things, whether it's storing supplies or storing cards or just putting jewelry in them. So I found this one a while back. It's been on my thrift flip shelf for quite a while, and I figured it was a perfect time to make it over. So I did have someone in mind for this. I have a friend whose son is getting married in October, and so I thought I could turn this into a nice little box that cards could be placed in on their gift table. So the first thing I did, obviously, was wipe it down on the outside, and then I ripped out this nasty brown fabric liner. It was really easy just to pull off, and it came off really clean, no residue, so that was like a bonus for me. Then it was time to take off all the hardware. Now I will say, while I was taking off this hardware, it was very fragile. Some of it broke, and some of the screws wouldn't come out. So I had to work around those two obstacles, but I got it ready for paint. And then I decided I'm going to paint this a sagey green color. Those are the colors of the wedding. So that is what I did. I went in and painted 2 good coats, doing full coverage on this box. So here is all the hardware. If you look on that top left corner of the screen, you'll see what I was talking about. There's still some of the hardware. The 2 back brackets just would not come off all the way, so they're just floating around up there. And I ended up taking that gold paint and kind of painting them while they're still attached to the box. But I was going to use Rub and Buff. This gold paint did the same job. I just coated all these, let them dry really, really good, and then I reattached all of the hardware to the box. Once it was all attached, I did want to give this a sanding, concentrating on all the sharp edges. I wasn't necessarily wanting to do the whole sides or the top or the bottom, but like I said, just running that 220 grit sandpaper along all the edges to get a little bit of a distressed look. Once it was all sanded, I took a rag, wiped off all the dust. Then you're going to want to seal it. When I put the sealer on, which is this Amy Howard matte liquid sealer, I have been trying to use this stuff up. I did also brush that on the hardware so that it would hold that done. Now, the inside of the box, I left this natural wood, and I saw in a corner of my craft room some Dollar Tree doilies, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll just put them in there just to kind of add a little feminine wedding type vibe to it. So all I did was just trim them down and just use a removable spray adhesive, and just kind of tack those in place just to give the top of the box a little something extra. Now, I left the top blank, but that is where you could definitely put someone's name, a date, or, travel adventures, or whatever you're going to put in the box. You could definitely either stencil something, or if you've got a Cricut, cut out that vinyl. But I do really, really love this makeover. Now, you might remember this DIY I did a while back. It was making a custom card holder. Well, while I was at the thrift store, I found this set of 6 boxes. I lost the footage of it, but they were smaller than this box I'm about to use, but they were the perfect size for a deck of cards. Not necessarily a game like this, but a deck of cards. But I couldn't justify buying those when I knew I had these boxes at home. So when you go to thrift stores, look for small wooden boxes so that you can make this project. So for this one, I'm going to make a skip bow box. And what I did is I printed out this skip bow logo. You can grab this download down below in the description box along with everything else in today's video. And I printed it out. What I'm going to do is just take some transfer graphite paper, put that behind my skip bow piece of paper, take a pencil, and trace out the skip bow portion of this design. Now, this is what it's looking like so far. Once I got this traced, I did want to continue that red stripe on the front of the box and the back, so I just grabbed a small ruler and kind of just followed the natural diagonal of that and sketched that out. Then it was time to take off all the hardware because I didn't want to try to paint around it, and I got that all removed. I started with painting the red stripe. I'm just using Deco Art paint. I got this nice set on Amazon that has all these good colors. And the nice thing about this paint is I still will be able to see my pencil marks through it, but it still gives good coverage. I don't know how that works, but it just does. So I started painting with the red, and then I was like, you know what? Let's grab some painter's tape so I can have some nice straight lines. Put the painter's tape on there. Once the red was finished, then I went in and painted the rest of the box blue. So here's what our box looks like. I did paint the inside, the top part red and the bottom part blue. Now I did debate, did I want to use paint pens to do the Skip-Bo logo, or did I want to hand paint it? And I opted to hand paint. Probably didn't choose the best brushes, but I felt like it was a little more forgiving and I could clean it up a lot easier if I just went ahead and hand painted it. So I started with the white, did the whole Skip-Bo part, then took a black paint marker and I used that to outline and kind of put the shadows on there. Then it was time to attach the hardware back to it. Now, of course, you will want to seal this just to protect the box. You can use Mod Podge, you can use any kind of sealer, whatever your preferred sealer is. Once it was all dry, ready to go, I headed downstairs to my game shelf to try to find the game. Here is our game shelf, a little disorganized. The card games, as you can see, obviously Uno needs to be my next one because that doesn't even have a box anymore. I don't see the Skip-Bo game, which means that my middle child probably took it to college.
Not this middle child.
No, you're not the middle child. You're the youngest child. Middle. No, I said middle child. Okay, well, yeah, okay, so Skip-Bo's not even here. Here's the box I made previously, in case you... All right, well, it looks like I need to go buy Skip-Bo, but anyway, as you can see, card games, you could even, if you find a certain size box for dominoes, you could even do a cool custom dominoes box for somebody who loves to play dominoes. So, okay, back upstairs. I'm doing this project next because it's kind of like the box. I was at the thrift store, I found something, but knew I had material at home, so I didn't want to buy it. But where you're going to want to look at your thrift store is you're going to want to look at the purses, the belts, and the clothes. You're looking for leather type material, whether it's real leather or faux leather. That is what you're looking for. Now, if you're wondering where I got this pack, I bought it on Amazon a while back. I will definitely link it down below. I'm pulling out 2 different summer prints. Now, if you do not have a Cricut, this is how you're going to make the project. Here's a template for you. If you shop at ALDI or know somebody who does, this is a quarter holder that you can turn into a little keychain, and it makes a great little gift idea. So for the Cricut, you put your faux leather down on a strong grip mat, use that tape to secure it, and you're going to want to change your blade to a deep cut blade. The file for this is linked down below if you want to cut this out on your Cricut. If you want to cut it by hand, simply cut out the template. You know how to do that. Put the template on the leather and just cut it out with a pair of scissors. Now, to finish these off, the left one is the one I cut on the Cricut. The right one is the one I cut by hand. You're going to want some keychain hardware. You can buy so many different kinds from pretty much anywhere. You want to slip that on there. And then there's 2 ways that you can close this up. Number 1 is you could sew it if you wanted to. Number 2, you could get some leather and suede glue. I love this one from Aleene's. I think it's very, very good. It works really, really well. And what we're going to do is you want to take this glue, and at the top of the keychain, kind of underneath your keychain hardware, you want to make sure you put some glue there so that it really secures your keychain in there. And then you want to run just along the edges of your keychain with that glue so that it's nice and secure. Then I'm going to take some of my sewing clips, and I'm just going to use these to kind of pinch it and let it sit overnight so that it can set up and become super secure. And then that's it. You could make so many of these. These would be great stocking stuffer ideas. But again, if you have friends who love to shop at ALDI, if you give them, like, if you're given an ALDI gift card, this might be a really cute little fun accessory to add to that gift. grab your fabric glue or sewing machine if you have one. Now, when I go to the thrift store with a fabric project in mind, first and foremost, I always go look to see if they have any fabric hanging with, at my store, it's usually with the table runners, table linens, things like that. And I did actually find quite a bit of good fabric, including this one right here. Now, you can also look at sheets and clothing. So keep those two things in mind. Often you could get a shirt for $1 or $2, maybe even cheaper than versus paying $9 a yard for a piece of fabric, if you get what I'm saying. So for this project, you're going to want to cut 2 pieces of fabric that measure 2.5 inches by 7 inches. These are our pieces of our bookmark. You could do the same fabric or you could do coordinating fabrics, up to you. You will also need a piece of fusible interfacing. Now this I found at Dollar Tree. My thoughts on it so far is it gets the job done. I don't know that I would necessarily use this for a big project, but for these little ones, it works pretty good. Now the interfacing, you're going to want to cut to 2 inches by 6 inches. So just keep that in mind that the interfacing is cut a little bit smaller than your bookmark pieces. You need to press your fabric pieces and then take your interfacing. And what this does is it just kind of gives the bookmark a little bit of stability so that it's not like a floopy bookmark, you know, kind of flip-flop and not holding any shape. So that's what this fusible interfacing does. And it has 2 sides to it. There's one side that's kind of like rough and bumpy. That's the glue side. And that's the side that you want to put down on the wrong side of the fabric. So you just press it with an iron or a heat press, whatever you have. And you only need 1 piece of that on 1 piece of the fabric. Now this is the time if you want to put a label on your project. I love these fabric sheets. They can go on fabric, wood, or cardboard. I already have these fabric creative ones made up, so I'm just going to cut one of them. Now what I like about this is you can iron it on and then it stays on. So again, you don't need a sewing machine, but I do like a finishing stitch around the label. I think it just makes it look really nice. So if you do have a sewing machine, I would recommend ironing on your label and then sewing around your edges. So that is what I did, and I just love how it looks. I put the bookmark towards the bottom. Now you could definitely do some fun phrases like just one more chapter, or you know, one more page, or I love to read, or book nerd, or whatever you want to say on your bookmark. But these are great to use to customize those gifts. I wanted to add a little ribbon tab to my bookmark so I could see where it is marking the pages in a book. I cut this ribbon to about 3.5 inches, 4 inches, depending on how big you want your tab to be. You fold it in half, and then on the middle of the right side of the fabric, just do some stitches, or again, you can use fabric glue to get that ribbon attached. Now it's time to start putting our bookmarks together. So you want to take your bookmark and you want to put pretty side to pretty side. I'm using some of these clips to go around the bookmark. You're going to want to leave an opening on your bookmark so that you can flip it right side out. Now, one thing I do, and I've seen a lot of people do, is they will, with a heat erasable pen, they'll make marks so that they know when they need to stop stitching. I like to use the red clips, and once I hit a red clip, I know I need to stop sewing. So that's kind of my little trick there. But I'm going to stitch all the way around. When I get to the corners, I am going to do a little bit of a back stitch just to kind of hold that stitch in there. And then once it's all stitched, I will take my scissors and trim those corners. I also like to take my finger and kind of run it along the seams just to kind of open them up a little bit. Now, if you are using fabric glue, I would not use hot glue fabric glue. I know you guys have seen me use that before, because you are going to want to press your bookmark and you don't want to warm up that glue again. So definitely use true fabric glue. I will definitely leave my favorite down below in the description box for you. Once you get stitched all the way around, making sure to do back stitches at your points where you are leaving the opening, flip it right side out, and then I'm going to press it. I want to press it down and make sure that it's good to go. Now, if you don't have a sewing machine, all you're going to do is take some of that glue, close up your bookmark, and then you're done. Okay, if you want to stitch it, I like to do a top stitch all the way around just to do kind of that finishing touch on it. So I am just going to stitch all the way around, closing up that gap, and then when I get to the end, I will do a little bit of a back stitch just to hold it steady. And now I've got myself a fun bookmark. You'll want to head to the kitchen/dish section for this project. I was on the hunt for a pretty floral teacup and saucer. I could not find anything. I found this, thought, okay, I can make this work. So I popped off the little kickstand on it and popped off that black backing. I wanted to cover that up with some scrapbook paper, so I just dug through my stash, found one, traced it on there, and then just used my glue tape to get that scrapbook paper attached, and then a little hot glue to get it attached back to the bottom of this little saucer. Then taking one of these wooden pegs from Dollar Tree, I used some gold metallic paint and I painted it with one coat of that paint. The peg was attached using a combination of hot glue and some permanent Gorilla Glue. You want to make sure you've got that permanent glue because hot glue will not keep that on there. Then what I did is I just measured the inside of my saucer. It was 3.75 inches, and I put a template of that on Cricut Design Space so that I knew how to curve my text. And I cut this out on my Cricut. So you could put names, you could put dates. Again, this is to have for their ring shots for the wedding, but if you're going maybe a 50th anniversary party and you want to get a ring shot, a 16th birthday where they get a special ring, it's just a neat way to customize something, and it makes a great gift idea. That's going to wrap up today's video. Let me know down below which one of these projects was your favorite. Also, let me know. Fall is coming, y'all. I know it's early, but the DIYs are going to start next month. I would love to know, what type of fall decor would you love to see me do? Would you like me to do some fall sewing projects, pumpkin projects, scarecrow projects? Give me some ideas so that I can make sure to try to work that in to all of my plans. Thank you so much for watching. Here are some more videos you might want to check out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!